Hey, Channel Islands Harbor. Welcome back to the Harbor Pod, your weekly update straight from our home.
Glad you're with us again. We're bringing you the most important news from our Channel Islands Harbor.
We gather everything for you. It's your easy update from locals for locals. So today, we're really diving deep into what's happening right here at Channel Islands Harbor. It's the fifth largest small craft harbor in the state, which is pretty significant.
It really is. And right now, it feels like it's caught between two huge things. All this major physical redevelopment happening, and then this really critical need to focus on the environment, the water quality.
Exactly. It's like a balancing act. We've looked at, well, quite a bit of material project approvals, investment reports, some pretty serious water data, climate planning stuff.
Yeah, it paints a picture of a harbor changing fast.
Oh,
So if you live here, work here, or just love spending time here, this deep dive should give you a good handle on what's going on.
we're kind of structuring this around that central question, right? How do we build up the harbor, make it, economically stronger, while also fixing these foundational environmental issues?
That's the core tension.
But okay, before we get into the weeds, let's start with something lighter. We pulled a riddle from the notes today. What do you call a penguin in the Sahara Desert?
Huh. Okay, I'll be thinking about that when we get the answer later, yeah.
Yep, stick around for that.
All right. And while you're pondering penguins, let's quickly cover the weather. For today, Tuesday, you've got that typical coastal morning, low clouds, bit of fog.
Burns off by midday, though.
Right, should clear up for a sunny afternoon, high around 76, low tonight about 64. Pretty nice.
And Wednesday.
Looking very similar, maybe a touch cooler, high 75, low down to 63. Still, really great weather for being out near the water.
Perfect segue, because speaking of the water and the docks, let's unpack this huge physical transformation that's underway. We have to start with Fisherman's Wharf, the Carls project. That's the big one.
Oh, absolutely monumental. The key thing here is the California Coastal Commission gave it the final green light back on August 14th.
And that's a major hurdle cleared, right?
It's the biggest hurdle, really. Getting Coastal Commission approval basically de-risks the whole thing for developers and investors. It means it's, pretty much going to happen.
What's interesting to me is the theme they're going for, this whole strawberry and maritime village idea. It's very specific.
It is, and it's smart. They're leaning into Oxnard's identity, the strawberry capital, but also the harbor's maritime roots.
So it won't just be another generic waterfront mall.
Exactly. They're aiming for something distinct from, say, Santa Barbara or Ventura. Think unique shops, restaurants, an artisan market, even a small hotel, all playing on that dual theme, plus recreational stuff.
I also saw notes mentioning community feedback being integrated. That feels important. It wasn't just pushed through.
Yeah, and that's a key takeaway. The community specifically asked for things,
Yeah.
and it seems like they listened. Things like a water bus stop.
Oh, like a water taxi. That'd be great.
Exactly. And dedicated public docks so people can actually boat over to visit. Plus some marine education elements, maybe a touch tank or something similar.
So it becomes more of a public resource, not just shops.
Right. It integrates it more into the harbor experience for everyone.
Okay, so it sounds fantastic, but we need to manage expectations on timing. Yeah.
Definitely. Construction isn't scheduled to even start until 2026.
Wow, okay.
And the target opening is spring 2028. So, yes, we've got a bit of a wait.
That's quite a ways out.
It is. But while that big project is on the horizon, there's a lot happening now with the actual marina infrastructure. We're seeing a real boom in dock replacements.
Right, the Bahi Yacht Marina project. You can see the work if you're down there. That kicked off back in February of this year, 2025.
Yeah, that one's moving quickly. They're taking out, I think, 84 old slips and putting in 91 brand new floating concrete ones.
More slips, even with potentially wider spaces.
Yeah, modern design is more efficient. And importantly, these new slips are bigger. They range from 38 feet up to 131 feet.
Okay, so clearly aiming for larger, maybe newer vessels.
That seems to be the strategy.
Hmm.
It caters to a different market segment and supports the local marine businesses that service those bigger boats. They expect Bahia to be done late 2025 or maybe early 2026.
And this isn't just a one-off, right? The note said this is the start of more dock work.
That's the plan. This is sort of the first domino. Peninsula Yacht Anchorage is on the list, and also the LM1, 2, and 3 slips over on the East Channel Peninsula. It's a major upgrade across the board.
So the harbor's really positioning itself as a top-tier boating destination.
Definitely. And it's not just boats and shopping. They're upgrading public spaces, too. Harborview Park's playground, for instance.
Ah, yes, the octopus attacking a pirate ship playground. That got approved back in May, right?
It did. And yeah, that theme sounds pretty fun. It's definitely needed. The old playground was well-loved but tired. This new one aims to be a real draw.
And climbable structures, you said.
Yeah.
Kids will love that.
Both the octopus and the ship, apparently.
Yeah.
But also, importantly, they're focusing on safety and sustainability. Things like inclusive swings for kids of all abilities.
That's great.
And using safer materials for the ground cover recycled rubber, cork, stuff with low toxicity. It's a very modern approach.
And there's more planned for that park area, isn't there? Something about concerts.
Yes, good point. The plan is to put a permanent concert stage right there near the new playground.
Which makes sense given how popular the Concerts by the Sea series was when they moved it to Harborview Park.
Exactly. It builds on that success. So that whole zone is becoming this central community spot. Playground, concerts, waterfront views.
Which means they need to think about getting people in and out. Parking.
Yep. The surrounding parking lots are slated for a redesign and renovation too, starting early next year. It's that kind of holistic planning. You create the destination, you upgrade the access.
It really is impressive the amount of investment and planning going into the physical side of things. Buildings, docks, parks.
It is. But, all this new activity, more boats, more people, it naturally leads to the question, can the harbor's environment handle it? Which brings us to the water quality issue.
Right. This is the flip side of the coin, and it sounds pretty serious.
It is arguably the most complex challenge. The core problem traces back to 2018. That's when the old power plant stopped using its cooling pumps.
And those pumps moved a lot of water, didn't they?
A huge amount, something like 1.5 billion gallons a month. It created this constant flushing effect throughout the harbor, keeping things circulating.
So when they stopped, the water just started sitting there longer.
Exactly. The water residence time shot way up. In areas like Seabridge, it went from maybe 5 days for water to cycle out to the ocean to over 25 days.
Wow, that's a massive change, like a pond versus a flowing stream.
Pretty much. And
Yeah.
when water sits that long, especially with runoff coming in, you get problems. Low oxygen, higher temperatures, stuff settling out.
And the actual water testing confirms this.
Unfortunately, yes. The latest data put Edison Canal and Mandalay Bay on the state's 2024 list of impaired waterways. That's not good.
What kind of pollutants are we talking about?
It's a mix. There's bacteria, especially after rain, which can spike pretty high. But the really concerning ones, from an aquatic life perspective, are certain pesticides.
Like what?
The reports highlighted bifenthrin, found at 20 times the safe level in Edison Canal, and permethrin at 15 times the safe level.
20 times? What does that even mean? And where are they coming from?
It means levels known to be toxic, potentially lethal, to sensitive marine organisms like crab larvae. As for the source, the types of pesticides suggest runoff maybe from agriculture, but also potentially from residential landscaping, golf courses. Urban runoff is a big factor.
Okay, that sounds bad. Is anything being done?
Yes, and this is the positive part of the story. Community groups like CINC and the Marine Advisory Committee have been incredibly active. They helped secure over $3.8 million in grants just for studying this and finding solutions.
That's serious money. So where did it go?
A chunk of it went to hire an engineering firm, Craftwater Engineering, back in June 2024. Their job is basically to figure out the best way to fix this.
Like what kind of fixes?
They're evaluating all sorts of options, what they call best management practices or BMPs. Could be anything from new rules about runoff to physical things like dredging, maybe adding aeration systems to pump oxygen into the water, or even engineered circulation systems.
Okay, so they're working on a plan. When do we actually see recommendations or action?
The timeline suggests the City Council should be reviewing Craftwater's list of prioritized solutions this fall. So hopefully soon. That's the point where the studies turn into, actual work.
That'll be a really important step. Getting the water back to how it was before 2018 has to be a priority.
Absolutely critical for the long-term health of the harbor.
Now, zooming out a bit from the inner harbor, there was also news about coastal protection, right? The Beacon meeting.
Yes, on September 19th, Beacon is the regional group that deals with beach erosion and nourishment, planning for sea level rise. Oxnard has a seat at that table.
And what happened at that meeting? Anything major?
The key action was approving funding agreements to keep a monitoring program going, specifically with the USGS and another group, ESA.
USGS, the Geological Survey. Why is that important for us here in the harbor?
It's about understanding the bigger picture changes. This program, RSKI MPP, tracks things like how the shoreline is changing, actual sea level measurements, wave patterns.
Ah, so the basic data you need to plan for the future.
Exactly. You can't make smart decisions about multi-million-dollar things like breakwaters or seawall heights decades from now without knowing precisely how the coast is responding to climate change today. It underpins all the long-term development.
Makes sense. Okay, let's shift gears from the big picture planning back to what folks can do right now, or maybe in the next week or so.
Well, the weather's great, as we said, so getting out on the water is always an option. Hopper boat rentals is right there with kayaks, electric boats, those fun sea cycle things.
Easy way to just get out and paddle around.
Totally. Or if you want something more involved, marina sailing offers lessons, ASA certifications. Good time of year for learning, actually. Steady winds, usually.
And dining, always a good option at the harbor.
Yep, Waterside Channel Islands has those great views, plus live music Wednesday through Sunday nights. And Mrs. Olson's, of course, for breakfast or lunch, they're open 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. daily. A harbor classic.
Good recommendations. Anything else coming up soon?
Well, looking just a bit ahead, CSCCI Cal State Channel Islands, their homecoming week kicks off on Monday, October 6th. That usually brings a nice buzz to the whole area.
Always good to have the university energy nearby.
Definitely. And, it's always worth reminding people about the community groups that work behind the scenes. CINC, the Neighborhood Council, and CIWHA, the Waterfront Homeowners Association.
Right. They play different roles, don't they?
They do. CINC is more advisory on broader policy stuff. CIWHA is really focused on the specific needs of the waterfront homeowners in Mandalay Bay, Harbor Island, Westport, Seabridge. Their main sort of mandatory job is seawall maintenance. That's huge.
Essential, really. Those seawalls are critical infrastructure.
Absolutely. And now they're increasingly involved in the water quality fight, too. They rely on homeowners paying those voluntary $50 annual dues.
Which sounds like a small amount, but it adds up.
It really does. That money directly supports the maintenance and the advocacy work needed to protect property values and the environment there. So if you're a Mandalay Bay homeowner, those dues make a real difference.
Okay, so pulling this all together, what's the big picture takeaway from this deep dive?
I think it's this clear duality. On one hand, you have this massive wave of investments, Carl's, the new docks, signaling a really ambitious future, aiming for growth and, becoming a premier destination.
Billions of dollars in potential economic impact down the line.
Right. But running right alongside that is this urgent, almost emergency level focus on fixing the environment, getting the water quality right, dealing with the legacy of those pumps stopping.
So it's development versus, or maybe development alongside, dedication to restoration.
Yeah, it's a race, in a way. Can the restoration efforts keep pace with and support the growth ambitions? That seems to be the central challenge right now.
Okay, before we wrap up, we have to revisit the riddle. What do you call a penguin in the Sahara Desert?
Yes. The answer has to be confused.
Confused is correct. Simple, direct, hopefully less confusing than trying to track all these harbor projects.
Oh, hopefully.
And finally, something to leave our listeners thinking about. We saw some discussion in the source materials about marine protected areas, how they're great for species that stay close to shore, but maybe less effective for fish like swordfish that roam widely.
Right, the contrast between localized protection and wide-ranging species.
It makes you think about our harbor's own dual identity, doesn't it? It's the gateway to the incredible natural environment of the Channel Islands National Park. You see whales, dolphins, amazing kelp forests just offshore near Anacapa.
Truly wild protected space right next door.
But the harbor itself is also a place of intense human use. Fishing boats coming and going, tourist charters, potentially even more shipping or larger yachts with these upgrades.
Yeah, it's that mix of wild nature and heavy commerce side by side.
So the final thought for you, our listener, is this. As Channel Islands Harbor pushes forward with this huge redevelopment, trying to attract more visitors, bigger boats, more investment, what kind of balance do you envision for its future? How does it maintain its connection to the wildness just offshore while becoming an even busier commercial and recreational hub? Something to chew on.